Hello, and this is Vin Shumbury, the president of WOWzer Technologies. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about how to actually show you the money, and that is, I'm going to be talking more about a small business success revolution. Now, when you think of revolution, you think of a fight, and in a lot of ways, in order to succeed, it is a fight. It is a mental struggle for sure, but it can be won. And one of the key areas that I find that really helps you is that you got to know where you are. I believe that the first place to start is knowing where you are. And you say, well, what does that mean? And how do I know where I'm at? Well, the key ingredient here is knowing your numbers. Numbers is really, really important. And I know there's a lot of people out there who are not numerically inclined. And I get that. And in a lot of cases, they actually hate numbers. I've heard them say that as well. But I want you to think a little bit differently. I want you to think as your numbers as similar to a destination you're looking forward to, right? The numbers is basically the travel part. So if you wanted to go somewhere wonderful, let's say in my case, I like warm places. I like Sydney, Australia. I really look forward to just being in that city because, it means something to me. And I'm sure there's a place that you can relate to. But in order to get there, I have to plan for it properly. So planning is really important, and I've got to know my numbers because there's costs involved in that. And some of us don't even like flying. I don't mind flying, but there are people who do have issues with that. And I equate the flight part similar to liking or not liking numbers. But it is a necessary part of the journey in order to get to where I want to get to. So if you think about a trip that you want to plan, business in a lot of ways is a trip that you're planning. Obviously, the time frame is longer, but the point of the matter is that it requires that planning, and you got to know where it is that you want to go. In this case, and in order to be able to go where you want to go, you've got to know your numbers. And a lot of business people I've seen, they go on hunches, and they make their decisions based on that. Is that the best way to make decisions? I would say that's not true. The best way to make decisions is to know your numbers, and proper numbers is what helps you. Because if you don't have those and you make it on your gut and you have been for a period of time, have you made some bad decisions? And what were the consequences of those? And the next time you make a decision, because you're still in that environment of going with your gut, how does it feel? How does it make you feel? Now, in today's time with the current pandemic, I mean, there's been a lot of individuals who've had to call their banks and their lenders and talk to them about getting extensions. But even prior to that, if you're in a difficult situation, you would have to do that. Now, can you imagine calling them, how that makes you feel? But now, if you actually had proper numbers and you called them and you explained to them why that was happening, for example, let's say that, your business is down. It's down substantially. And you know that it's down from this month versus the previous month, and this month being the month that just passed December versus December the previous year. You knew that information, and you explained that to the person on the other end, and that you've had to let go of certain people because you wanted to make sure that you were as profitable as possible, even though you didn't want to make that decision. How does that make the other person feel on the other end? How does it make you feel when you're explaining it and they actually understand, regardless of the outcome? That actually gives you something internally that no amount of money could explain to you or give you. But what it does do, it puts you in a better space mentally, spiritually, and physically, even though it's not an easy place to be in. So think about that. But not only that, when you have the proper information, right, and you make decisions, you can actually correct your course along the way, even if what happens isn't as positive as you wanted it to be, or it didn't turn out. But when you don't know your numbers and you're going on your gut, you hesitate to make that decision. Whereas this, so it freezes you. But when you know your numbers, you're not frozen because you can act based on what you know, even if you did not make the right one beforehand. And I've seen that with successful people. Successful people, that's what they do. So you're actually following them. So what is success? Success is, I want to go to this destination. I have to get there this way, whether, I may not enjoy parts of it, but I'm going to do it anyways. And you correct your way along the way as well. Numbers is the key to do that. So then the next question comes, So the first one is, how do you make your decisions? The second one of knowing where you are is, well, where do I start? Everything seems like a mess because it's all in your head. And that's the biggest problem you have right now. Everything that you're making a decision on is based on your head. When I first started working, one of my first bosses said this statement, and I've never forgotten it. He says, short on memory, long on pencil. Write it down. There's the key right there. In order to it not being messy is to get it out of your mind and put it in writing. It's really as simple as that. And I've been in that situation, and I'm telling you this for a reason. Because when you take a flight, you want to go with someone that that feels more comfortable, that has been through it, and can actually keep you calm along the way. You want to work with someone that does that. I'm happy to help you, but even if I'm not the one that does, find someone that can. And here's what I tell you to start. Okay, grab a piece of paper, and on one side of the piece of paper, I want you to write the following term: what I own. In other words, what are my assets? Some examples of that is bank accounts. How many have you got? I don't want you to put the number down. I just want you to put down the bank accounts. You may have a Royal Bank. You may have one with CIBC. Whichever ones you got, just write them down. And if you have like savings and checking, write that down as well. Then what other assets do you have? Do you own your house, your home? Well, write down your home as well. I have a home. I own it. I have a car. I own it. I have stocks. I have those. I have an investment portfolio. Just write them down. No amounts right now. On the opposite side of the paper, what you would write is what I owe. In other words, my liabilities, who I owe money to. Who are those? Do you have any credit cards? How many have you got? So for example, you may have one that's a MasterCard, and it's a certain type of MasterCard, like MBNA, write that down. I have a Royal Bank Visa, write that one down. Again, no amounts. I have a line of credit. I have multiple lines of credit. I've got one with Royal, I've got one with CIBC, and so on. Just write them down. I have a mortgage on my house. I have lines of credit. You write those down. What have you just created? If you look at it, what I own, which is assets, what I owe are liabilities, that is called a balance sheet. That, if you ever heard the term out there, I've just gotten you to create a balance sheet. Then I will ask you to provide what the totals are, let's say at December 31st, 2020. And we'll take those totals and we'll create it going forward, so you don't have to go back. So now you know where you are. This is the place to start. They say, well, Vince, what about my ongoing monthly amounts? We'll get to that as well. That's called an income statement or a profit and loss, right? We'll get that. But I just want you to know where you are first, so you could go like, okay, but hang on, I got more liabilities than I got assets. At least you know. Now you can plan. You can plan that destination, that flight, where it gets you where you want to get to, right? And this produces the third thing. Once you do that, it produces the magic. What magic are you talking about, Vince? Of knowing where you are, where you can make informed decisions, and it gives you peace of mind. I have been there. I've actually been in debt twice, and I've gotten out both times. And this is the method that I use to do this. And what's really important is that if this is something that's difficult for you, and I find it is for a lot of people, find someone who can help you. And ask them if they've been in that environment themselves and how they got out. And just listen. And you should be able to sense it as well. And that will give you, that should give you peace of mind that that's a person you want to work with. So I'll go back to it again. In order to have a small business success revolution, you have to know where you are. It is imperative that you know that. And the way that you know that is that you actually take the time to list your assets and take out your liabilities and subtract your liabilities, which gives you what's known as equity. It can be positive, it can be negative, but the most important thing is that you know where you are. And that's what's really important, okay? So in saying all of this, the whole purpose of all this is to give you peace of mind so you can sleep at night and you'll be able to make better decisions as opposed to going by your gut and suffering some consequences that you go like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that I did that. And it freezes you because now you actually are leery about doing it again. So I want you to think about what it is that I said, and I would love to have any comments that you may have as well. It would be wonderful to hear your comments, and by all means, let me know if there's anything I can do to help you. And I hope this is helpful. God bless, and we'll talk to you soon.